Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you both today. Maybe we could just kick off with a brief introduction to this amazing film, Scrapper. What can people expect when they watch it?
Ooh. Go on, Lola, what can be?
Sad at first and then happy.
That's it.
Great
That's good
summary.
enough. Says it all.
One of the things I love about it is dealing with some really tricky topics, like grief, but it does it with so much wit and charm and kind of joyfulness. When you first read the script, what was the appeal? Why did you want to take it on?
Yeah, I liked that the sort of story of grief was there was way more to it. You know, it was subverting a lot of the stereotypes around like British kitchen sink dramas, and it had way more comedy, and there was magical realism, and yeah, I think Charlotte from the get-go really knew what she wanted to make, and that was appealing. And the character of Jason was like no one had ever played, and then met Lola, and obviously quickly realised how amazing she was and how fun she was. So it was just, yeah, all the elements were great from the start. Yeah.
And for you, Lola, taking on Georgie, and I think you had quite a great self-tape that caught everyone's attention.
When I first read it, I thought it was quite depressing, but then, like, as I kept reading through it, it got happy, like, it ended with a happy ending, so I like that.
And in terms of both of your characters, what I love is it's kind of happening in reverse, like a coming of age in reverse. Like Georgie's so grown up, old beyond her years, and your character's kind of, you know, a kid in a man's body, but you find connection in the end. So how did you kind of prepare to play each of your characters? How did you see yours?
Yeah, there was so much of Jason that, like, I as an actor almost didn't need to. I didn't need to understand what it was to be a father, really, because he was a negligent father figure. He was absent. He's not been in Georgie's life at all. So coming home, it was like this, and it was more necessity than want. It wasn't like, oh, he's decided now, oh, I'm gonna come home and make an effort. It was because he has to, and that adds another element to the story where it's like he doesn't really care about being there. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I've been out of the picture. There's no apology. There's no sort of melodramatic trajectory of like, please let me back in. It's like, I'm here. I'm the sort of adult in this situation. That's it. Like, I don't really care about being your dad. And in turn, he ends up understanding what it means to be sort of loving and empathetic, and realizes that he needs way more support than Lola needs. So it's kind of beautiful, that switch.
And how did you see Georgie? I mean, do you keep your house, bedroom quite as clean as she keeps her house?
No, not as clean. I think she's very independent and she's quite good at looking after herself. Yeah.
You're quite independent though, aren't you?
Sometimes.
One of the great things about it is this amazing dialogue and the kind of banter that you have between you, sometimes kind of laughing with each other, sometimes at odds with each other. And I know on set, I think you're having quite a few moments of like ad-libbing and things like that. So, you know, what did you enjoy most about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we just got to play and mess around. I mean, there was a lot of times where Charlotte would give us the scene and then we'd sort of go beyond it and try different things. And Lola's a really good improviser, so there was times on set where I even myself didn't really know what I was going to do or say, and then Lola kind of led it and took it in a direction, and you kind of just go with it. So that's fun because you're not like overly thinking about what that scene's going to be, and you're just messing around. And you're quite cutting. There'll be times where you do a take and you think it's good, and she'd be like, "What was that? What was that?" And you're like, "Yeah, sorry, let's try again." So.
Did you have a favourite moment? Favourite bit of dialogue?
I think my favourite scene was the train station, because that didn't feel like, or the end one where we were in, it was like we were finding bits of metal and that. I found that quite fun, because it was, we were filming for quite a while on there, but it was really fun because it didn't actually feel like we were doing it, it felt like we were just messing about.
And what's also great about it is balancing those kind of real moments of humour, there is such a kind of emotional undercurrent. I was thinking particularly at the moment when you go into the locked bedroom, or where you're having some of these conversations towards the end. Was that something that you also had to sort of find, even though he has this kind of boyish exterior, you can tell there's so much more going on underneath that. How did you find those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, they're challenging scenes like that because the majority of the film does have so much levity, so you've got to sort of switch tones a bit. But I feel like that drama has to be there in order for the comedy to work, and that's such an integral part of the story. And it's like there is a turning point in terms of his own sort of comprehension of the situation and his own understanding of Georgie, you know, and yeah, it was important that we, you know, put an accent on that moment and really gave it the time. So, yeah.
And for you, maybe, I don't know, which was more difficult scene in that sense, perhaps when listening back to that voicemail, kind of really finding that emotional edge to Georgie's character?
I don't think it was too bad, because a lot of it was improvisation, but then if it was a scene that I was like struggling with, because the script was there, I could still go off of it.
Having to be nice to me, you didn't. That was something you struggled with. Having to smile at me.
And the other thing that really stands out about it is just kind of how the colours all really pop, and all these playful moments like the talking spiders. I was even thinking of the way that Jason looks, making fun of his hairdo being a bit like from 8 Mile. Yeah. Was that something that really came across on set, and like working with Molly, the cinematographer, and things like that?
Yeah, it was. Everyone was really close, weren't they? It felt like a really small, intimate experience, and that I think helped everyone on set to just be comfortable, and that really does change like performance. I think if Lola or I felt, or Alan felt uncomfortable at all, it changes what you sort of the limits in which you can go to. So yeah, I think everyone realised that, and realised that a fun set meant good content. So yeah.
And what's it like working with Charlotte? I mean, she seems to sort of make films from like a really personal place, and doesn't kind of feel constrained by, like we were saying, like genre expectations. She just kind of lets her imagination, eccentricity kind of run wild. What's she like as a director?
She's lovely. I mean, she's very sensitive, really considerate to like everyone's energy and time on set, and she just wants everyone to feel comfortable and safe. She like every day she'd bring every member of the crew a snack that they liked. I'm thinking, I don't know how you're thinking about that whilst you've got like a film to make. It's like, you know, but yeah, she's. You spent a lot of time with Charlotte like early on, didn't you? What did you think?
Same as you.
Same as me. She's nice. She's amazing. She's the best. Yeah.
And finally, what do you hope people take away from watching it? It's, like we said at the beginning, it's, even though dealing with something that's a tricky topic, it is finding joy and connection, and the importance of being there for each other, even if we don't have sort of perfect, picture-perfect kind of families. Actually, there is that community there, and there are those connections you can have with people that are really important.
I mean, apart from the obvious themes of the film, I feel like, you know, thinking about it the other day, I was thinking how well Georgie's character hid the fact that she was going through grief. And that's something that's quite interesting to think about people going through stuff that you're not aware of, and how sort of anyone could be dealing with something huge like that at any point, you know. So, but yeah, it's fun as well. I think people are going to enjoy it. I think there's a lot of comedy, a lot of levity. So, yeah, take your rubbish in the cinema as well. You know?
Did you want to add anything, Lola? What people can take away?
To be happy.
All right, thanks so much for sharing all that with me. Can't wait for everyone else to see Scrapper. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Just be happy.
I don't know what else to say.
There's nothing else to say, that's it.
Just be happy.